Welcome to another edition of the Corner Booth Podcast here at the Snowdon Deli. I'm Aaron Rand from CJD, along with Bill Brownstein of the Montreal Gazette, and our very special guest today, legendary, iconic Montreal political cartoonist and author, again, Terry Mosher, a.k.a. Aislin. Terry, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Nice to do this. It's a lot of fun.
So,
except you won't let me eat the food.
You can take all the food home.
You can take it all home.
You'll have to fight Bill for some of it.
No, you can have this all.
So, the reason you're here today, this is your brand new book. Let me hold that up here. All about the 1976 Summer Olympics, but a lot of stuff in here beyond the Olympics for people who don't know, because it's really a great read.
And before the Olympics.
Yeah, about Jean Drapeau.
Right.
Well, the reason for that was I thought, a couple of years ago, I thought, it's the 50th anniversary of the Olympics. I was there. I was actually there with a press pass, running around doing sketches. I thought, I'll do a little sketchbook with the Olympics. But then it began to grow because I realized there was so much before that Jean Drapeau was involved in.
Right.
So to tell the real story, but then after too, straight up until today, because we're still paying that debt in one way or another, one hidden way or another. So it turned into sort of this three-part book, really. With sketches, and the Olympics themselves were a wonderful event, but leading up to it was a real problem. And then after the debt, held Montreal back as a major city.
It was very interesting because basically you start off way before the Olympics. I mean, you touch on Expo 67 and the glory years when Ed Sullivan and all these people.
The point to be made here is that in the 1960s, Jean Drapeau, progressive mayor, could do nothing wrong. I mean, he built the metro, he built Place des Arts, he built this stuff. Then Expo 67, and he brought in the expos. There was not, he walked on water. But then with the Olympics, it began to, he bit off more than he could chew and created these problems.
By the way, it's worth pointing out, I mean, for Montrealers who maybe don't remember, and one of the interesting facts is when I saw it in the book, I'm like, I forgot. He ran for 26 years. He served as mayor. Yeah. I mean, that's never, ever going to happen again. That in and of itself is, pretty remarkable, too. And you also touch on the fact that he began, he didn't strike as the kind of guy who actually would be mayor, right? Quiet, reserved, ends up being a lawyer, gets involved politically, and then the next thing you know...
Lived in a Rosemont all his life.
Yeah.
All his life.
What was very interesting, I found, is that even amongst his harshest critics, like you, Nick Oftermar, so many others, you loved him. Like, I mean, he was great fodder for all of you, but on the other hand, he had a sense of humor. This bit about, like, hanging in his office and scaring him, like, to get you he drove you home, like, various people who were really nasty towards him.
Remember, his best friend was Robert Lapalme, who was the top cartoonist in the 1940s. So he was always getting advice from Lapalme. And he wanted an art center here. He couldn't have Michelangelo, so he created a whole cartoon exhibition that was the top in the world for a period of time. So, he had a sense of humor, but only so far. Only so far.
Did you ever get, for cartoons that you drew of him, did he react? Did he call you? Did he say, I liked it, I didn't like it?
CBC did a documentary on me in 1980, and they interviewed him, and they surprised him. They said, and what do you think of, I love cartoons. I collect cartoons. And I said, well, what do you think of this one? And they held up my classic one of him calling an abortionist. And he said, no comment. And he kept saying no comment about these classic cartoons, but he was okay. And I'll tell you, let me make this point. I researched this. There's only one statue of a former Montreal mayor in all of Montreal, Jean Drapeau. And it's in front of City Hall, and I deliberately went and got a photograph of him in the snow, and he's watching carefully the comings and goings at City Hall. I love that statue.
You know, it's worth pointing out again, just to show, the personal side, the human side of him. You note in the book, he used to at night when he would leave work, right, send his driver home sometimes and just drive through on his own, looking for problems in the city, things that needed to be fixed or addressed. Again, I'm thinking that's never going to happen again either.
He had a big Lincoln with smoked windows, and he loved to, and he even at one event, I was there with my first wife, Carol, and at a restaurant, and we were outside looking for a taxi, And he pulled up in his Lincoln. He said, Monsieur Mosher, can I offer you a lift? And your beautiful wife. And my wife spoke perfect French, so he was really happy about that, and very, very helpful.
In his own car, no driver, no nothing.
No,
just...
he loved to do it. He loved to drive around. Yeah.
We tend to, as you point out, I mean, his dream was making Montreal a world-class city, and as you said, he could walk on water. The stuff he created, I mean, we've never had a visionary like that ever. Never. And then, of course, he paid the price, going way over cost and everything else.
Yeah. But nevertheless, Bill, he became, when he died, I did a drawing of him, and it's the mountain, and the mountain is actually Jean Drapeau, and it says, Monsieur Montreal. And he was Monsieur Montreal. I mean, I took the mickey out of him and all kinds of things, but he was easy to draw. An egg, a little mustache, and big glasses, and also some of the stuff. He was very. You don't have politicians like that anymore because they can't get away with it.
Yeah.
He once said, this is interesting. He said, between elections, a mayor is a benevolent dictator, and that's how he operated. You can't do that anymore. Anyway.
When many go back, those were the glory days of the city, and will they ever be replicated? I very much doubt it.
Not within the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
The point I make that not many people have made in the book is this: 76 was, we won the Stanley Cup. We lost it for 2 years. It was just a magic place to be, and the Olympics, as I say, were actually great. Dick Pound raved about how good they were, the music. I quote Dick Pound a lot in the book. He was very helpful. And the thing is that it was just wonderful, but then immediately after, there's this economic depression. Then the PQ was elected. Yeah, and the Expos had the worst year they've ever had. Immediately after, the following year, Toronto got a major league franchise, and these baseball owners are very conservative people, and they say, what are they doing? Electing terrorists in Quebec or something? Right. And they immediately moved in the direction of Toronto. I point to stuff like, so it really became a complicated book about observations, and with hindsight, of course, it's easier to make these observations about what happened in Montreal, and we had this debt, and we began to slide. You
also, there's a section in the book where you talk about Jean Drapeau wanting to introduce his own lottery and how that played out. And of course, for all the reaction to that, now of course we have them. They're there. They're ubiquitous.
He created the lotteries that are widespread all over North America. He started the first one with a $2 lot. They said to him,
"You can't do that."
They said, "It's illegal." And of course, he made a lot of money out of that. That was for Expo '67 to pay some of the debts there. Fascinating guy.
As I think it's funny, we were talking about this. Obviously, the Winter Olympics are just over now. It's just been a little while. There's a story of possibly Montreal considering a bid for 2038 for the Winter Olympics. I asked this question of listeners on my show. There's not a lot of support for this idea, and I think a lot of that stems from the fact that the 1976 Summer Olympics were such a fiasco financially, right? You talk about how long it took to pay this off. And you talked about the level in the book. You talked about the level of corruption.
And it's not really paid off yet because $2 more billion.
Another $1 billion in the stadium as well.
Yeah.
But for people who don't know, and you point this out in the book, outside of being expensive and overrunning the original budget, talk about what happened. I think people may have forgotten this. With truck drivers, construction unions, all the stuff that was going on that we later found out.
I got direct quotes on this from a guy who worked there. He made enough money to go retire and go back to Italy and live comfortably the rest of his life.
He was a truck driver?
Yeah, he was a truck driver. And the unions were so strong in the early 70s, if you remember. Dick Pound points out the fact that Drapeau's biggest mistake was not creating peace with the unions. He confronted them. Anyway, the story is that the unions negotiated this terrific deal. So our guys show up at such and such a time, they work for 8 hours, and then they leave on such and such a date. And but nothing was finished for them to do. So they would show up, hang out in a Dickie Moore, play poker, drink gin, and then go home.
And get paid for the day.
$800 a day or something like that. The truck drivers got $800 a day to show up with empty cement trucks, pull in, and then pull out all empty. And so
The thing that sticks in everybody's mind about the Olympics today is the stadium, the big OWE.
Exactly.
And for whatever reason, no one will ever get over that. And any talk about bringing another Olympic Games and brings back memories of all of that, a stadium that they can't do anything with still, that's cost them untold.
That's why there's a whole segment in the book, though. By the way, it's not just me. I have all other kinds of other cartoonists in there who did terrific work. And I did a whole segment on how different cartoonists have portrayed the Olympic Stadium in comic.
Right.
It's become a meme,
Yeah.
in fact. And one guy even sent in something he'd created on artificial intelligence.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
Prompting to say, okay, draw me the Olympic Stadium, but created a home for the homeless, and put a park in the middle. And he sent me this terrific graphic. I thought, this guy's going to take my job.
Yeah,
you know who it was?
Yeah, I think I heard it. Oh, yeah. Noted cartoonist, AI cartoonist.
Learning my way through AI.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Thanks very much.
No, it's in the book too, by the way.
It
so
is
thank
in the
you for
book.
putting it in.
I mean, but the stadium in itself, I mean, it just drew the ire of everybody, like an inverted toilet bowl, whatever it was. They couldn't do anything right. Yeah. And I mean, they thought of dynamiting it, but then it would have affected the metro below. They still can't do anything with it.
You also have a great cartoon, speaking of the stadium, of Jean Drapeau. It's one of my favorites, where the top of his head is the top of the Olympic Stadium.
He was going to have a dome stadium. All his confidence. It's a dome stadium for sure within a year or something. It was absolute nuts. Yeah. He couldn't do it. So I had him cutting the top of his head off and a little model, and he's just putting a dome stadium.
How long did it take? I mean, this is obviously a culmination of a lot of time, a lot of years. I don't know how long. When did you come up with the idea? And was it just as you said, because it's our 50th anniversary of this?
Well, I seem to be turning into a 50th anniversary guy. Or I remember I originally did a book on the 72 series, 50th anniversary. Right. It wasn't a 50-year, but then I did a book on the Expos, because I was there for all of the Expos. Yeah. So I've got all of this. I've got 16,000 cartoons there I've drawn over the years, and a lot of them fit into these things. So I seem to have turned into a historian. Not bad for a guy that's thrown out of high school, you know. And I enjoy it very much, going through old cartoons, not only my own but other people, and finding things that still work today and putting them into books.
Can you just talk really give us a little bit of history, which you also do at the beginning of the book, how you started, where you came from. You talk about coming to Montreal with really not a penny in your pocket. Take us back to there and how you got to become a cartoonist.
1967, Expo year, I was studying at l'École des Beaux-Arts in Quebec City, the art school there, and graduated with a wife and 2 young babies. And but I was working in the street drawing caricatures for tourists, you know, for $2 a piece.
Right.
And I thought, maybe I can do something with this silly ability I have. So I came to Montreal, basically hitchhiked to Montreal, got a place, and walked in to a couple of offices, and then the Montreal Star said, "We'd love to use you." Boom! Talk about landing on my feet in 1967, and so I went. Within 2 years, I was doing covers for Time magazine. So I went from sketching like an artiste, speaking with a phony French accent, you know, "You like my painting?" You know. Wow. I went right from that. It was, and there were so many publications there at that time. So many English weekend magazine, 3 newspapers, that I caught on, and I've been doing it ever since. And the one thing I'm really proud of, well, I'm proud of a lot of things, my family, and but the thing I've always made a living drawing. And how many people can say that?
The Corner Booth podcast is brought to you in part by the Snowdon Delicatessen, where we are. 75 years in business, the hub of Montreal's greatest smoked meat, plus carnotzel, potato latkes, and the famous Snowdon Deli party sandwiches. That's the Snowdon Delicatessen.
By the way, when you say, you know, I'm just picturing you on the streets in Quebec City doing those sketches for tourists, when you got to Montreal, did you have any political notions, you think?
None.
Nothing.
I didn't know anything.
Did you go to Logos or some underground?
Let me finish this. the editor at Saturday Night Magazine, he said, I want you to do caricatures of LBJ and da-da-da-da-da. And I said, but I know nothing about politics. He said, it's easy. Just make them look stupid.
And
I've been doing that ever since.
Nice job.
Yeah,
And speaking of which, you faced the slings and arrows of editors, the readers, and all the rest over the years. It hasn't been a complete joyride because a lot of people take exception, take umbrage to.
I've been fired from some of the best publications in Canada and a few in the States, too. Yeah.
What has really drawn the ire of some of your readers and editors over the years? Anything that stands out?
Well, how long do you have? 3 hours?
Yes.
It's particularly, the thing I enjoy the most is the political complexities here in Quebec and Montreal, and you have to be able to understand that. But the friction in different elements and the posturing, particularly here in Quebec, you know. So that I've really done very well with typical of Anglos, of separatists, of this, that, and the other, and those are the most popular things I do. But there are others. Louise Baudouin, for example, was a wonderful, wonderful
yes,
adventure.
Dominatrix.
Yeah, I drew as a dominatrix, and that could almost be another 50-year book if that anniversary comes up. So it's so much fun, Bill, but it's also their own political agenda gets in the way. It's rare you find a person, a Tory, who's going to laugh at some cartoon I've done of Tories, and vice versa, and whoever it happens to be. So, being in satire, you exaggerate on purpose. It's hyperbole is part of the so it's inevitable that people take something very seriously.
Yeah, you're not bitter and angry, right?
Nor are you a mushy kind of guy either, let's face it there.
I don't know about that.
You're a citizen. You're like everybody
Yeah.
else. You see
But
some of the
every
stuff that
cartoon-
goes on and it bothers you.
Yeah, but most cartoonists are like that. People think we have horns
Yeah,
or something.
yeah.
No, they're
When you think back, you said you could talk about a million places where you got pushed back or were fired
Yeah.
or whatever. Cartoon you ever did of a politician that had that politician call you directly or reach out directly or someone from his or her
Sued me.
office?
Claude Wagner sued me.
Right?
He because I drew him as a bull and somebody was trying to milk his dick.
And there was a classic where, I remember that one.
Yeah.
How'd that
And
phone
he
call
sued
go?
me on that, but then when he died, I got letters from lawyers saying,
It's
under
over.
the circumstances, we're going to drop the libel lawsuit.
I still recall with Trudeau Mulroney with the shovel, where he was one of them was trying to knock the other one to the ground. Do you remember that? That seems to have created a lot of.
Yeah, that was, but the classic one was that I got it by you love to get things by editors. They don't see it in a cartoon, right? So McLean's called me and they say, 1972, we need an election booklet cover of Stanfield and Trudeau. I said, what if I drew them dancing? Oh, perfect. It sounds pretty mild for Aislin. You're going to draw them dancing. So I drew them dancing, right? But what they didn't see was they're both kneeing each other in the crotch.
Did you have, we talked about Jean Drapeau at the beginning, did you have a favorite politician that you used to like to draw?
Oh, I would say René Lévesque. Lévesque was just, and he went on for years, thankfully. Trudeau too, but Lévesque was just a joy to, and Drapeau was the number 2.
And did Lévesque ever contact you? Did you ever have communication with him?
Who?
Lévesque on anything?
Yeah, I
you
did.
drew?
I used to drink with him in Chinatown back before he was in politics. Well, he
When
played
he was a
poker.
journalist.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
said Radio Canada,
Yeah.
and we drank together in Chinatown. He used to tease me about one thing or another. I once also I drew that famous cartoon, Aaron, with him. Okay, everybody take a Valium. At a national newspaper award dinner where I got an award, I gave him a Valium as a joke. The son of a bitch swallowed 10 milligram Valium. And his speech began to slur, and I take full credit for it.
What did
to
he
see any
think you were
video of
giving
that.
him?
Huh?
What did he think you were giving him?
Well, I told him, Monsieur Lévesque, un cadeau, s'il vous plaît, un Valium.
Oh, that's funny.
He's drinking.
And that, of
Scotch.
course, is probably your most famous cartoon of all.
That and the Morgenthaler.
And the
I would say
Morgenthaler.
it's a toss-up. Those are the two. It's interesting they were drawn within a couple of years of each other. Yeah, those are the two. And by the way, could I mention the McCord Museum have a big exhibition coming up on the 50th anniversary of the Olympics. They're using a couple of hundred cartoons, many of them mine, and they have the original drawing of Hello Morgenthaler in the exhibition.
Wow. Okay.
So it's a wonderful thing they're doing there at the McCord.
When is that happening?
That's later in March.
26, I think.
Yeah, later in March, and it's going for 6 months.
By the way, now that you told the René Lévesque story, I was not aware of that story. Is there video of that anywhere? I'd love to see that. So,
The Valium.
you giving him the Valium at this particular dinner.
Oh, gee, I don't know. There's a photo of me with him at the dinner. Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been fun. I mean, I'm not going to retire yet, but I'm coming up on 60 years of cartooning in Montreal.
And this book is this is number what?
56.
Unbelievable.
I'm going for 60 books.
Yeah, I figure you.
By the way, so I held it up when we started, but I will point out for people who didn't see it, it's benefiting the Montreal Children's Hospital.
Yeah, the Montreal Children's
See
Hospital. What
that?
I do is, you see, I'm old enough, I've made enough money at it. So I'm giving my book royalties that I would get ordinarily from that to the Montreal Children's Hospital.
That's right.
The saint that I am.
Yeah.
But that's, I mean, you've done this in the past. You did this with the
Yeah,
Expos
I
book
like
as
to
well.
do it.
So
I like to do it. It's you see, I publish my own books, so I don't have to take. It's like my arrangement with the Gazette. I don't have to take orders from anybody. So, and along with the help of my wonderful wife, who's a book designer, and I couldn't operate this thing without. We produce the books ourselves. We pay for the printing. We pay for all this, and we even distribute the books ourselves. So we're not dealing with big league publishers who are slow as molasses. You know.
and is this in stores?
It will
soon?
be in stores starting this week.
Okay.
My two favorite bookstores will have it right away. Paragraph Bookstore downtown, and a wonderful Clio bookstore. I love that place out on the West Island. And then week by week we'll get to two other bookstores. Then we spread to Ottawa, then to Toronto. So being self-publishing, we handle every aspect of it.
Well, wait, can you go online to find this?
Yes, and you can even order them directly from me. Let me mention this, because I'll sign a book for you to whoever you want. And just go to shop@aislin.com. And I just got an order from Ireland for this book. Former Montrealers living everywhere. So shop@aislin.com, and I'll sign a book for you, and one of my assistants will get it out to you.
So you mentioned that you're going to do 60 books. You see, so you've got Louise Baudouin, your sites.
That's if I hang around.
You're going to hang around.
I mean, I'm 83. But
Yeah, your baby. But what I'm saying is, what are other topics that are percolating up there?
all right, I don't know if I should mention. Yeah,
Okay, you mentioned it.
Says Chaplot, my great friend, the
Yeah.
cartoonist of La Presse, and I, within 2 years, are going to be doing a bilingual book, and the Molsons know about this, of the best all-time hags. Caricatures on one side and a bilingual description on the other. And they're probably going to be selling that at the Molson Center, at the
Bell Center, yeah.
Bell Center, I can't keep track. And everybody. So that should be around for a while, and that will provide wonderful book royalties for my grandkids, all 5 of them, right? So there's that coming up. I'd like to do also a book on, Montreal, just a Montreal book, and a couple of other things. Somebody's talking to me about doing a book on the Alouettes. So I love doing it.
Good for you.
Sit there in my basement.
That's great.
Put your photographers always coming over and taking photographs with me, putting them in my basement. And Mary's upstairs. My wife Mary's upstairs, designing these books and so on. So it's quite a cottage industry we've got going on.
I'm just going to ask before you wrap. You've been doing this for as long as you have. You mentioned before you're the longest working
I'm the longest
political cartoonist in North America.
longest continually working cartoonist since '67 in North America. And you know who number 2 is?
No.
Chaplot.
Says Chaplot.
Really?
He started in '72. Yeah. I started in '67. He started in '72. So when we go to these American conventions with cartoonists, talk to these Americans who said, "Oh, well, we've worked for 30 years." Big goddamn deal.
I will ask you one thing, which
Yeah.
dawned on me. You're doing this long enough. How have things changed with respect to, back in the day when an editor would say to you, "No, I'm not going to print that," versus today? Can you get away with more? Can you get away? Like, what's changing?
I can get away with more. If you noticed the other day, I got a cartoon that the Gazette printed with, and it's when we lost the Olympics, the hockey,
Right.
and it's a balloon coming out of Canada. Over in the West, they're saying collectively. In the Maritime, they're saying Quebec, they're saying mad. I should have been Tabernac, I suppose, but anyway.
It works.
And the Gazette printed.
That surprised you?
Yeah, because it used to be you can't do this, you can't do that, and so it's easier. I'll tell you why, Aaron. It's easier. If the Gazette don't use something, I put it online.
Yeah.
And I've got something like with these different platforms, X and all kinds of things. I've got something in the area of 40 or 50,000 followers, many more followers than the Gazette has.
Right.
And it goes all over the world. So I enjoy it because if I get an idea that I know the Gazette could never use, I can put it up online.
And then these next few years are going to be very interesting for you. Referendum talk coming up. I mean, this is
50 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. You're like, you can't forget your day job here, Terry. You've got how many cartoons are you doing now a week in the Gazette?
Well, I do 2, and then I do specials occasionally. If they'll call up and they say we need a cover on New Year's Eve or something. And also Mary, my wonderful painter wife, does paintings for them about once a month or so. Signing at the Gigot, her mother's maiden name. Wonderful views of Montreal, far gentler than my stuff. Yeah.
All right. Listen, I will hold this up again and let people know. If it's not in a bookstore yet, it will be soon. This is Terry's new book. On the Olympics, 50 years later. And I will ask you as we wrap up, so you would be in favor, right, of Montreal bidding for the next Winter Olympic Games in 2038, right? You're fully on board.
Well, there'd be good cartoons in it, right?
Well, there is that.
But I don't know. I mean, we couldn't afford to host the city for the World Cup.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think we
Plant
have
was
a
very
mayor
honest.
now.
She said, "Look, we just don't have the money to do it." So I don't think it's going to happen.
Bill and I will tell you, we've had Soraya.
And she said she would have brought the World Cup here, and I wouldn't put it past her to go for the Olympics. She's thinking Drapeau-esque in certain terms. So the new mayor, Soraya.
The new mayor.
Yeah.
Well, more power to her.
Exactly.
And more power to you.
She also, listen, I love this. She also said she's going to solve Montreal's traffic problems by use of artificial intelligence. Well, there's no question we could use some intelligence on that front, no matter where it comes from. But good luck with that.
All right. Terry, I want to thank you so much for being with us
Thanks,
today.
Terry.
And good luck with the book.
Yeah.
And you'll find it, as I said, in bookstores or online. What is it online again?
It's online. It's shop at Aislin.com.
All right. That wraps up another edition of the Corner Booth Podcast here from the Snowdon Deli. We'll see you again soon.